This is Brian Smiga. I am the producer of TEDx Asbury Park.
There we go.
And okay, there we go. There's video. I just have a few thank yous. So I want to thank Jason Furlani and John and the cast for an amazing job here. And we're going to assemble the panel and invite you guys in to talk with the cast and crew. We couldn't be here without you, our audience. So if you like tonight's performance, this is just the beginning. This is our debut. There's more to come. So on Thursday, May 6th at 7 p.m. on Zoom, we'll have two of our most viewed TEDx Asbury Park speakers who have over 2 million views, Gary Lewandowski and Andrea Sertash. And we hope you'll join them because they're talking about the joy of relationships. And Gary's just come out with a new book called Stronger Than You Think. And then on Thursday, May 13th, we have only for you, the 125 people who joined us tonight, a private invite to a warm reading of 3 more new plays. So we'll send you an email in the next 48 hours with links to both of these events. One is public, but the play reading is just for a small audience. And we hope you can join us and we'll bring your friends. In October, we'll resume our live event season at the Two River Theater, and we'll do salons with open mics in front of their play season, and then our big event, an all-day idea festival with catering and reception and networking on May 7th, 2022. So we want to thank everyone who participated in this production, particularly the cast and the crew who put in so much hard work, but also Monmouth University, the New York Actors Studio, and the Two River Theater. So please keep in mind that you can ask questions via the Q&A down below. We hope to get some audience participation. And you can chat to the whole group or to any individual using the chat function below. And your comments and questions are welcome. So now we're going to form the panel. And I have one quick poll question for you, the audience, before we start the panel. So here comes the question, and the host is going to put it up. And it's a short answer. Based on tonight's performance, how likely would you recommend our next one act, one idea production to a friend or colleague? So if you guys could quickly vote. Oh my God, you guys are so fast. This is amazing. We'll reveal the results at the end of the panel, which will just be in 20 minutes. So stay tuned, don't leave, because you won't find out the answer otherwise. Great, looks like the voting's coming in and it's pretty positive. No, don't mean to influence anybody. So we'll give that another second. And panelists, are you ready? Because we're gonna start off with Jason. And then host, can you spotlight the 8 panelists? Because that's who we wanna see in the Hollywood Squares, if we could do that. Great. Okay. We're good. All right. Oh my God, look at this huge cast. Awesome. So, Jason, thank you for your work. Hey, good evening. I hope you're happy.
Oh no, thank you so much, guys. Brian and John, especially, would like to thank you for bringing this to inception, and the crew who put so much into it. Thank you so much. And I mean, couldn't ask for a better cast. What a great, fun night. These plays. It's always nice to kind of visit these plays with new voices, and it was all. We were laughing. There was so much new stuff in it that we kind of wove in for this production. It was a lot of fun. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of love in your work. And then I think the cast found a love for each other, even though they were all rehearsing and getting to know each other through Zoom. So that was really great. Yeah. Jason, a big question for you. You're a really great actor. The audience ought to check out your work. But as an actor who now is also a playwright, how has being an actor, writing for actors, made you a better playwright?
Well, knowing what I want on the page as an actor helps inform what I feel important to have on the page. It's so often, you see in like really great writing, you see all that you need, and you see and maybe not so great writing, a lot of the author talking and, a lot of what the author thinks is important. And what I try to really do is suit everything with intention. And, you know, although I think pretty much all three of these tonight, I think would be classified as comedies, you know, they all have a heart. And that heart is the engine that kind of drives me as an actor. And hopefully it fuels and gives inspiration to the actors, which, you know, when they approach my work. So, you know, and I got to tell you, like, really, it's always the biggest kind of danger as a writer is to write with like only one cast in mind. like, you know, develop with one cast and write with one cast in mind, because for a piece to live and have breath under it, it needs to be able to be interpreted and you know, inspire actors in different ways. And it was such a joy to see that tonight, the way that everybody approached the work and what they brought to it, that was new and fresh and fun. So thank you.
Great, and we hope you're going to keep writing. Is that right, Jason?
Yeah, no, I'm still writing. I'm still going and whatever. This whole Zoom thing was like you know, it was kind of a crazy. And so I mean, it's obviously we're all living in this crazy world, and the idea of writing, you know, like presenting plays on Zoom, like we know plays is kind of crazy, because you know, you've seen it done, and it's very hard to engage and stay engaged. So the idea was to try and frame it as a Zoom call, so that we're, you know, the fourth wall is literally we're the silenced participant on the call. So and you know, I feel that it worked pretty successfully, all to everyone's credit. I mean, and it's you know, I can't wait to be back in the theater. So that's for sure.
So there we go. We've got Zoom realism, and we try to bring Zoom realism to tonight's performance. So Maggie, fellow New York actor studio, you got to unmute, Maggie, because I'm going to ask you a question. As another theater professional, a theater professor and actor, you're doing a lot of Zoom. And Zoom, I think, has some advantages over live theater. After all, we can come into right into people's homes and bring them live theater. And people who can't get to the theater, I think it makes theater accessible and low cost. What are the trade-offs? What are the advantages, disadvantages? Because you've done a few things in Zoom, Maggie. You want to talk about that?
Sure. I mean, this is just going to be my opinion. Okay. I think mostly the advantages to Zoom are on the administrative and producerial side. It's a cheaper way. You can have your buddy in Paris be reading with your buddy in LA. And, you know, I mean, it's here to stay. And I think it challenges us to get really, really creative. I think it's actually a director's medium. And that, again, this is all my opinion. I've seen some really wonderful stuff on Zoom, you know, including this. What was the other question? What are the pluses and the minuses? Okay, yeah. So I guess the pluses are that we're all getting really used to working in it, and as actors, it's an opportunity to practice, and for writers too. I think it's great, because I've heard you know, I really heard Jason's plays tonight. It was really great. It's a great medium, I think, for new material.
That's great. And you know, what I love about it is you know, really seeing the faces of the actors up close, the listening actors as well as the speaking actors. I mean, you don't miss a thing. It is really like better than being in the front row of the theater. It's better than TV in many respects. I really love the way you guys listen and react to each other. So Delissa, you are a Jersey Shore woman. We want to hear about that. We want to hear from you. Yeah. How is Zoom as a rehearsal and performance medium? And are there any challenges or any upsides as a rehearsal medium for an actor?
Well, I think Zoom is, well, first of all, thank you for including me in this. This is wonderful. I love Jason's work, and Jason as well. I think that this is a challenging medium. However, making the best use of the square and the camera and the space behind you really helps. Rehearsing really helps. And, you know, this has helped me form a better relationship to the camera as an actor. So I think that it's, once you get past watching yourself or watching other people, then you can really, it's live TV.
Right. And it's
With
all
all
close
the-
up all the time.
Yeah,
And I think watching, like the triad of 3 actors and everything that's going on is, there's a lot of information there. So where did you grow up on the Jersey Shore?
I was actually born in Long Branch,
Oh,
and
right.
I went to Red Bank Catholic, but I left many years ago, of course, and now I'm in New York.
All right. Well, that's music to our ears. We have a lot of Monmouth County folks here tonight. So thanks for coming back and joining us. So Tara and Erin, if you turn on your video, I'll ask you a question. Tara, you are one of our most popular TEDx speakers ever. You gave a great talk about comedy as a healing channel for cancer and hospital patients. And it was really, really lovely. But now, as both a trained actor and a TEDx speaker, which was harder? Which was more pleasurable? Preparing for your TEDx talk in Asbury Park or preparing for Rey-Ann in flight?
Well, I have to say, and I just love Rey-Ann. Like, I just love this character. She is so much fun to play. So I appreciate you, Jason, for writing her because I just loved her. So I really enjoyed the creative piece of it. What's really different, when we did this and it was under TEDx, the thought I kept having in my mind is that it's all about an idea worth spreading, right? That is all about what TEDx is. It's the idea. And when I did my TEDx talk, it was my idea. So it was about choosing fun in the chaos of cancer. And that was my idea. And people either like it or they don't. They resonate with me or they don't. There's not much I can do about it. It just felt like, well, you either like me or whatever. This, I actually felt a lot more pressure because this was Jason's idea. And I wanted to make sure that his idea was communicated and his idea was heard. When somebody gives you their baby, all of the work that he put into writing this, and they hand it to you and they say, please don't drop my baby, and I think it's a really big responsibility to take somebody else's words and somebody else's heart and somebody else's writing and to make sure that you're honoring their vision and communicating what they want heard. So to me, it was a lot more fun because it was great. And I will say this is the other part that was fun. It was great working with Maggie and Delissa. Like, I didn't know them before this, and it was awesome. And when you're doing your TEDx talk, it's really you and your coach. It's a very isolating experience until you show up that day and you're like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing community of people. But I got to have that amazing community of people from the beginning on this project. And that was really beautiful. So, and I hope that Jason feels that we did honor his work. And I appreciate that you gave us that responsibility.
Oh, certainly.
We
Thank you.
hope we'll find more plays and welcome some of you back if you would be so kind to perform in other new works as we go forward. So Joel, if you'll unmute, I got a couple questions for you, man.
Okay.
So Joel,
Is my sound working?
it's working great.
Great. I'm excited.
Joel, you
Yeah.
are so effortless and so natural. I find, and I think everyone found you that way. And you work in all these mediums, in stand-up, in television, in film, in live theater, and now in Zoom, right? So what would you share with the audience as your best idea for being natural in front of the camera? Because I just feel like you are just breathing, and really enjoyed your
Beta blockers.
beta blockers.
Beta blockers are the key. I think for folks who've done a lot of film and television work, at a certain point you have to come to grips with your inability to determine the narrative. You have to give up on that. Doesn't mean you can't understand the shape of something, and it doesn't mean you can't understand how something works, but you won't be able to define the narrative of the piece that people watch on film or television. That happens in the editing room, and that happens with the director. And I find a tremendous freedom in that. That doesn't mean you don't do the actions of character, you do the actions of character, but you don't allow yourself to participate overly as a storyteller. This sounds weird. I know we're all told that like acting is storytelling and theater is storytelling, and it really is. But if you put yourself in the position of storyteller narrator you've moved out of acting and you've moved out of listening in a certain way. So for me, it's really important to find that balance and get out of the need to be the generator and the engine. If you trust your thinking will carry the thoughts through, and you trust that the action that the playwright has set down will carry it through, and alleviate yourself of the burden of like motoring a thing along,
Yeah.
then I feel like it often works much better. I know that's not everybody's advice, but I think it's important to like take the onus of motoring off of yourself and let that be the play and the interaction between everybody. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense to me, and I really appreciate your insights here. Now, when you're doing Zoom, as opposed to being on a movie set or on a TV set, what helps or doesn't help with that act of just being and listening and behaving?
Well, the listening thing, actually, for me, I find you have to really engage in the listening thing. That may not have come through my performance, but I think it's key on Zoom because you no longer have an editor focusing, you no longer have a director focusing in the same way. So
Yeah.
the audience gets to pick what they're looking at. There's
The
three of
audience
you
is
on.
the editor, right?
Yeah, the audience is editor. So you want to make sure that anytime they go to you, and something you're doing is in service of the piece, something you're doing is in service of the moment. And if they go to you and you're not in service of the moment, then that moment is gone.
I think if I could just jump in, Joel,
Yeah.
there was one moment in particular that I saw tonight that both Emily and I just absolutely lost our minds, and it was the way that you generated shame in like in the revelation of being a Red Sox fan. That was literally it was genius, but you were earnest and honest in the moment and so incredibly present. And that's what made it so incredibly funny. So thank you. I mean, you know, all of your performance, all of you guys. I mean, you found so many great things tonight, but that was one particular thing that just talking about what you're talking about. So
Thanks, Jason.
Erin, if you turn on your video, I'll ask you a question, but otherwise I'm going to move on to John or Fichi. So we've heard a little bit about from the actors, both the preparation and the work that we do in Zoom to prepare and rehearse as well as perform. What about you, John, as the interpreter of Jason's work? You know, there's a big idea, I think, that runs through all of Jason's work. So you want to unpack that a little bit?
Sure. What a joy and to work with these actors and just to work with these words. I mean, it was a pleasure. And I'm a former English teacher, so I really love words and I really appreciate Jason's choices as he went along. And I think the big idea that I found that was underneath it all was that this box, this Zoom box or this COVID box was not confining to these characters, that somehow both Jason as a playwright found a way to use the box, and each of the characters found some liberation through the confinement of the COVID. I mean, there was just something magical or wondrous or loving or freeing or liberating that I think each of the characters went through. And I kind of wanted to make sure that we were bringing that out, and the comedy would take care of itself. But ultimately, these characters found something that they would not have otherwise found without the confines of the present situation. And I don't know if that's what Jason was looking for, but I certainly found it there, and that's kind of what makes it collaborative, right?
Great. So let's do a quick lightning round. Just want to hear from each of you. Same question. You know, each play and each character here experiences a transformation, maybe a liberation, maybe they let go of something. And I think that's really, really present in Jason's work. So for the audience, what's the one idea, the one word, the one phrase you hope the audience takes away from your performance, your character, or the play itself you were in? And we're going to go in alphabetic order. So that means we start with Delissa. Sorry, you're on, Delissa, if you could unmute. What's the one word, one phrase, one idea you want the audience to take home from your work tonight?
Freedom.
Freedom. Yeah. Cool. And then it's just going in alphabetic order. Jason and Joel and John, you'd be next, the three J's. So Jason, you first.
Hope, I guess.
Hope. Okay. Joel, you come before John.
Red Sox.
Red Sox.
No, I think there's a lot of like romantic versus non-romantic loyalty.
Loyalty. Love it. And that's Jason, isn't it? I mean, I think just watching Jason's work and watching his work with the Brooklyn restaurant businesses, I think Jason's got a lot of loyalty in his soul. John Orefice.
Boy, the arts finds a way. We made a play.
Yeah, found a way.
You know, in space. So that to me is the overarching thing that I would love everyone in our community, artistic community, and the community at large to understand that the arts will find a way, and we did tonight.
So then Maggie, then Tara, and take away from your performance, your play tonight.
Take the leap.
Take the leap. Yeah, she flew. She really did. It's a miracle. It's magic. And Tara, how about you?
So I was going to say hope, which made me feel really great that, oh, I think what Jason's thinking, I got it. So that was an affirmation. So that was great. But also love. You know, I think that each of these things really, that there's different types of love, but that hope in love, I think was really beautiful.
Yeah, in your play, I think all three characters are searching for love to a certain degree, and maybe the most unlikely one finds it. And that's, you know, I think a wonderful irony.
And I think that I think she gives Rey-Ann hope. Rey-Ann's had all these horrible relationships and terrible men, and yet she sees the magic and the miracle of love. I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah. So to John Orefice's point that the show will go on and we'll do the work despite this COVID, you know, we've received close to 300 plays. Of course, Jason's were the best three, but we have a lot of other good ones, about 30 good ones, and we're going to produce 3 more on May 13th, and not in as rehearsed and as deep performance as we saw tonight, but it will be a very high quality, warm reading, which many of us will participate again. So we hope you'll join us again, and everyone who's on the call tonight, we will send you an invite to those 3 new plays, and then we may bring plays back in the fall. We'll see. Last question. Okay, so when I was coming up, studying theater, literature, etc., one acts were a big deal, right? And we had all the Tennessee Williams one acts, and Shaw wrote one acts, and all the American playwrights wrote one acts, and you know, they're really great works, but they're not produced that much anymore. Maybe it has to do with the economics and even the way regional theaters work. Even Two River Theater doesn't do one acts. They don't do plays under an hour, right? So in this age of Zoom and also just of short attention span, you know, is it time for one acts to come back? And Jason, as a playwright, I'm going to start with you, because you just wrote 3 plays that delighted us between 12 and 14 minutes long. Is this coming back? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the short play in and of itself is a great exercise and art form for writers, because you know, a short play is not a scene. Like, that's the trap, right? A short play, I mean, obviously it needs to have a beginning, middle, and end, but needs to explore a theme and really drive it at a point. And there needs to be something that changes because of what the characters want, what they're driving for in the piece. And, you know, I feel that if you can do that in a very short burst, then when you move into like a longer form piece, you know, your tools are really sharp when you're going to carve in, because it gets harder. The longer the piece, the harder it is to keep honest to the stakes and you know, the characters' wants and what they have to go for on stage in the scene. So I think that in terms of what the Zoom era will yield, you know, I feel that this is definitely a potential. It's obviously from a producerial standpoint, you know, I don't want to say cheaper, but easier to bring, powerful forces together and present them, rather than put dragging everyone to a theater and saying, okay, let's all, push everyone into this space. I mean, as a theater artist, yearn for that time again, and I'm sure it's going to be fantastic when we get there. But in terms of what I think the short form piece, a short play, I think really has a place to live on Zoom. I hope.
Well, I hope that's true. And just throwing it out there to everybody, someone would jump ball, rehearsing on Zoom and then bringing it live. Seems like a lot of work could get done with remote actors who then could come and just work on the blocking for a few evenings and then do a play on a stage. Do you think that combination works? Getting the team and the ensemble together, playing off each other, and then moving into live at the end. Anybody want to take that? Maggie?
I just want to say we've been doing that at school. I worked with the company
Who
at
is the
school,
American dramatist?
the American Academy of Dramatic Arts.
Thank you.
And we didn't rehearse on Zoom only. We did move into the theater, but there's been a lot, recently, there's been a lot of that kind of hybrid modality working. And it's possible. It's definitely possible. Like I said, I think Zoom is a money saver. I mean, the days of, the days of auditioning in person, I think they're going to happen, but I think it'll be the second or third one in. It won't be the first one with the casting director. You'll be doing that on Zoom. Then you might go in to meet the biggie deacon,
There's no snacks.
Well, maybe a hybrid's going to work out. We'll see. And maybe some plays will be produced both on Zoom for a shut-in audience and a low-cost audience as well as live. I think stay tuned. So as far as TEDx Asbury Park goes and our one act, one idea series, we are going to do the warm readings of 3 plays. I hope you'll join us on May 13th. Some folks have asked in the chat how to get involved. On our website, there's an invitation to performers, actors, playwrights to submit. So come on in and submit. We read plays pretty quickly. We get back to people pretty quickly, and we're saving about 30 of them for possible future productions because there's some really, really wonderful work there. And we're trying to build a small performance company who could be anywhere in the world to do Zoom and also to produce one acts only in Monmouth County. So that leads us perfectly to the next question. So if the host could put up the next poll question and you guys will indulge us, we'll ask you one more question on the way out. And thanks everybody. We couldn't be here without you. So the question is, based on tonight's performance, how likely would you book reasonably priced tickets to a live local performance of 4 to 6 one-act plays like this with an intermission, reception, and networking? Just give us an idea whether we should do this next year. We do plan to bring one play at least to our all-day TED conference in May 2022. It'll be the first time we've produced a 10 to 15-minute play as part of this all-day event. So we're gonna definitely do that. And we may do a couple of live productions next year or in the future. Great. Really appreciate your answers. Really appreciate all of you, our audience. We couldn't be here without you. And we really appreciate, all of you. So big hug and thank you so much. It's been great getting to know the New York cast and everyone. We're very, very grateful. So thanks so much.